Is it just me, or did the last month just fly by? Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be doing my October wrap up for the month of October. And yeah, October just seemed like it went really quick. I was particularly busy, had a lot of like work stuff going on. I was sick for a bit, was on vacation for a bit. So it just felt like time really passed. I still got a pretty decent chunk of reading in though, thankfully. And so we'll talk about everything that I read this month. So kicking off the month, the first thing I read was The Daughter's War by Christopher Buehlman, and I had meant to get to this for just so long after reading Black Tongue Thief pre-release, and finally did. And I'd been doing a lot of short stories. I was in the mood for something different, and Buehlman. I've had a slightly like a bit of variety with I've either liked or loved or really enjoyed his books, so like kind of over the map, but always good. And this was no exception. This was definitely a more serious and kind of grimmer tone than the Black Tongue Thief, even though it's the same world and it's a prequel. It also just the writing and sort of the tragic way everything was happening. It's events that you sort of know how it's going to end because it's a prequel, and they talked about it in the Black Tongue Thief. But it was really well done and a really solid book, albeit kind of bleak, but also just had. Despite the bleakness, there was a lot in there of just these character moments and really digging deep. And so it was just kind of interesting, different from everything. But Buehlman's an author who I feel like every book that I've read from him is just a bit different from any other book that I've read from him. So really good when you're looking for an author that's a really good writer, but has a lot of variety. Is just works out really well. I'm still very interested to see where that series is going to go. I think this one maybe slightly edged out Black Tongue Thief for me. Has been a bit. That one I felt like just a lost focus with plot a little bit, whereas this was a bit more focused. But if you do want to hear my full thoughts, I do have a review for that in most everything we'll be talking about as well. But that's where we started out. Then I was looking for some shorter things to kind of fill in, because like I said, I ended up having not a lot of time in some ways. So the next thing I did was The Bastard Prince by E.L. Montague, which this is extremely short, is more like a novella. And I wasn't fully sure what to expect of this. This author had sent me some of his books, this one physically, and then some digital copies as well. And I commented in the review. You look at that, the size, the design, everything. It screams younger reading, but then the like introduction from the author is saying that no, they write very adult content, and so it just was like kind of a weird shift there. This is one that, like I said, had a really rough start for me, and I felt like got better. But just I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. I was kind of ended up about in the middle on it. There was some flashes of things that I think would be interesting in this world, and some things well done. But there was also just a lot of rough edges for me, and so it wasn't the greatest introduction to an author for me trying out. But it was still one that wasn't an immediate no interest either. So kind of in the middle. I'll have to try some of the other stuff. It's also really hard to gauge from such a short introduction there too, with it being just more of a novella. So I'll have to see what I think there, but that was one was a little bit mixed for me as well. Then we had Shards of Honor by Lois McMaster Bujold, the first book that we were doing for the Backlist Book Club. And man, I've been so excited to get to these, and I had a really great time with this one. I feel like very quickly that I was definitely going to be continuing this series because I really, the style is definitely different from the fantasy that I've read from Bujold, but I really was just enjoying it because it's doing a lot of elements in there where we have Cordelia, who is on like a science mission and to explore planet, but then we have all the military aspects, and she ends up after like a failed mutiny, she ends up kind of captured by Vorkos again, but also like teamed up with him, and there's some bit of like romance going on there. So you got a little bit of that. You got the epic like space going. You have the military sci-fi. You have the exploratory sci-fi. Like there's a lot of different elements, and I found myself really drawn to the characters and the style. So I will be probably pretty soon doing a Barrier, which is the one that's the sequel to this in chronological order. It's kind of a messy with the order, but apparently chronological order is usually a pretty good idea for this series, is what I've been hearing. So I will be doing that, I think, very soon, because I'm really curious to find out more. And there's a lot of books in Vorkos again, but I do understand now why everybody recommended it so highly. It was a really good time with the first book. I'm excited to see more. And the next I wanted to throw in another short one, so I did The Lies of the Ajungo by Moses Ose Utomi. And this is one that had been on my radar already from Rabin at Only the Best Fantasy Novels. I'll link his channel down below. But also then I needed to find an author that started, last name started with U, when I was doing one of those ABC videos. And so I'm like, you know what, we're going to read this. My library has the hardcovers for the whole series. So I'm like, perfect. I've returned it since. That's why I don't have it anymore. And this is sort of like a fable, or had some like feels of like a parable, this story that's being told. And I'm not usually big into the kind of fable type of stories, but there was something about this that I just quite liked. The way the author sets the scenes, the ideas here, and the characters, just the very natural character voice came through a lot. And so I found it really interesting. And it is taking place in the City of Lies, as it's been named by the Ajungo, where everyone there, once they reach a certain age, their tongues are cut out, and then their tongues are collected, and the Ajungo take them. And in return, they're given water because there's no water basically anywhere near the city. And that's kind of the setup. But sometimes children will go off and leave, and they're on a quest to find water, even though it's everybody kind of knows they're going to fail. And that's where our main character ends up going off to do that, and then discovering the world is maybe not quite what it seems or what he's thought. This was just a really interesting read. Like I said, is the big thing comes down to. I did do a review for this as well, and I just I was very intrigued. I've heard there's it's something really special when you read all three close together. I actually have the second one from my library now, which I'm hoping to get to soon. I just had some other things that I needed to get to, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. But yeah, really, really interesting time, and I definitely will be rereading the next two soon because they're quite short. They're all novellas, and so I've enjoyed doing some of the shorter stuff that's just easier to get through as well too, especially when I find really solid stuff. After that, the next thing I was also working on is The Skull Throne by Peter V. Brett. This is book 4 in the Demon Cycle, continuing my reread. And I will say, the between books 3 and 4, uh, definitely not quite the same experience as the first two. And I from talking to people, it sounds like that was common. The first book or the first two books people really liked, but then not necessarily the next two. And I still enjoyed these. These are still like solid 4 stars, but definitely not as good as the first two. I do remember book 5 kind of sticking the landing, so I'm still continuing there, and I'll be doing that one this month. At some point in November when this comes out, it'll be so I'll be getting to that and kind of finishing up, then do a video talk about I think really what it is with the first two books are very focused with the two characters we're establishing. Books 3 and 4 are where I feel like you can kind of see the author just wasn't ready to stop exploring the world. He was more interested to explore some of the cultural things and some of these other things than to just get a move on with the plot. And so it's one of those things that I totally get. I mean, Robert Jordan did that with Wheel of Time, where he wasn't quite ready to move on and just spent time exploring. So it's not something that bothers me as much as some, but I can definitely see it. And I'll probably do a video once I finish my reread of the series, just talking about the series as a whole a little bit as well. So you'll have that to look forward to if you're interested in continuing to hear my thoughts. I'm probably not going to do a dedicated video for the Skull Throne. I'll just wait until after I finish the last book, The Core, which I am still excited to get to. From there, I was working on Grave Covenant by Tobias Youngblood. This is the first book in the Projectionist series. Now, this is I read Windland Vale, which is a prequel novella to this, and this is kind of described as like sort of an urban fantasy type of thing. And that was where originally I read Windland Vale, which is more epic fantasy, my thing. The way that takes place, but this is just there was so much going on here, and I don't know if urban fantasy quite is the description. What this reminded me of more so is like a neo-noir kind of thing. You see those movies that have that neo-noir type of feel, so it's almost like a mix between like a DC type of town, like maybe Gotham or something like that, where it's like it's dark and kind of seedy, and there's these things going on, but then there's just a lot of variety. And so this is one where I was just reading and I'm like, I have no idea where these elements are going, but I was enjoying the ride. So very different from stuff that I normally read, but one I had a lot of fun with. I will be having a review come out for this soon to talk more about, but it has a lot of really interesting elements and some things going in really interesting directions and unique directions I haven't seen. And I think this is one of those books that is just really shows the plus to having a bigger like self-pub indie type of scene, because it's just somebody writing elements and things that they want to write about and that they would want to read about, and that just really comes through here. It's just being the author's vision, and I had a fun time with it here. So I'll be talking more about that in detail a bit soon. It should be probably within a few days of this coming out or so. We'll see. Then we have the biggest surprise of the month. I read a romantasy book, Daughter of No Worlds by Chris Broadbent. I did do a review here too. I mentioned and the cover is really, the cover is very eye catching with the red and everything with it. And so that was originally, I had just caught my eye in Discord. Somebody posted it, and I'm like, that doesn't look like the kind of book that I would read, but I like the cover. And this is Trin, and I'll tag her channel down below as well too. But she said, hey, it was just sold me on it and said, hey, honestly, it's different from what you normally read, but it's not super romance heavy. It has cool world building. And so I'm like, you know what? I will give it a shot. And I enjoyed this. It wasn't my favorite in thing. Like I wasn't like blown away, but it was really solid. It did have good world building, really solid characters. And honestly, the romance elements were not super heavy here. So it really did feel more like a fantasy that had some romance elements than like a straight up romantasy, which for me was really nice. I am planning to get to the second book. I went ahead and I looked, my library has it, and I ended up doing the audio of this for my library because they had the audio, and so I put a hold on the audio for the next one. It'll be a few months probably before it comes through because it looks like it's pretty popular, but I am planning to continue just because it was a good enough time that I'm curious to see where this goes, and so I'm always game to try something new. I had very low expectations here, just knowing what it was, and so yeah, I had a good time with it, and if you are kind of interested in dipping your toe in but not super big on romance, this is, I think, a really solid one to check out. From there, we have the ever dependable Guy Gavriel Kay, where I did Children of Earth and Sky. And I did do not really a review, but I had literally called it amusing because it ended up being what it was. Talking a little bit about this book and just Guy Gavriel Kay in general. And I love reading Kay books. I love them so much. I only have one more after this that's sort of the alternate history types in the connected world. Last Light of the Sun is the one that I'm going to have left. But I really enjoyed this. This was lower in the list, but it's as I found, I have not, if you get to read a bad or like a disappointing Guy Gavriel Kay book, and maybe the Fiona of Art will end up being that, we'll have to see. But I really enjoyed this still, and I had some issues, but also it does the beautiful things that Kay does. There's so many good things, beautiful passages, the way that it connects, the way it creates this bigger whole with the totality of his work. It's just so many good things, and I really, really, really love reading Kay novels. It's just, I always know I'm going to really enjoy myself when I'm reading them, and yeah, I've said a lot of it before, but it's been a really good time. So then we get to the end of the month, and I'm filming this on actually the 1st. So this is, the month is done at this point. But what I've been working on is The Nameless Land, which is the sequel to The Witch Roads. And I meant to get to this much, much sooner and did not. And I didn't realize how quickly this was approaching. So I'm going to be finishing it up. It comes out on, I believe, the 4th. So it's going to be very, very shortly after this. I will link The Nameless Land below. So good so far. I'm reading it now. I'm like maybe a 4th or a 3rd or so through my e-arc that I had, and I feel terrible that I didn't get to it sooner. But also, since starting it, it's been very difficult to put down because I really enjoyed the first book a lot, and I talked about that. And then I also had Kate Elliott on the channel. I will also be having Kate Elliott on the channel again. Or to on the new show, Book Chats and Beyond, my new live series on November 9th. So be watching out for that. If you, I'm sure it'll be a blast to chat with. But yeah, it's really, really, really going well here. And this has just been so great. It's really, I've loved Kate Elliott, and especially her epic fantasy. And so this is just going full bore back into epic fantasy. And so I highly recommend checking it out. And if you're one of those people who've not really read Kate Elliott before, not sure where to start, this is a duology. Book 2 is out in a couple of days. It's done. It's a very low commitment, and it's excellent, so it's a good one to check out for sure. Then on the audio front, I'm listening to The Will of the Many, and I originally read an e-arc of that when it came out, and so with book 2 of this also coming out in November, I cannot remember the date, but I think it's a little bit later in the month. I figured I would do an audio, try out the audio and do a reread of this before, because I remember it pretty well, but there's some things that I figure would be good to refresh. So then hopefully, once the book does arrive, I'll be able to start that and it'll be nice and fresh and continue. And I'm excited because I really loved The Bowl of Many the first time. And so we'll see if going back and the reread if anything changes. Although I'm not expecting too much to change with it, but I'm having a good time there. I'm not super far into this. I'm maybe about 20% as well. But I decided to pop it on because I didn't have anything else planned for audio, and it makes sense to reread, and I'm excited for that too. So yeah, November's a good month. I don't pay a ton of attention to new releases, but two sequels that I was very excited for coming out here. So it's yeah, it should be pretty good. And it's been a good week of reading, focusing on these two. Right after finishing a Guy Real K, that's a really nice stretch for sure. So that's pretty much where I am for the month of October. Now I will be doing a pile of possibilities, which is mentioned in Discord. Some people refer to TBR as that, and I might have to adopt that. And in fact, I think I will be adopting that at least for November, where I'm going to just be talking about a bunch of things that I may or may not read. I might have on the docket, and we'll have to kind of see. But yeah, that'll be coming soon as well. And so watch out for that if you want to see what more I'm going to be reading or might be reading. But that is it for this month. So let me know what you've been reading the last month and or your thoughts on any of the stuff that I mentioned down in the comments below. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the links in the description as always for the Patreon if you want to support what I do, as well as the Wizard in the Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether any of these books, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun. We'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.